Some men don't want a girlfriend. They want a mum, they want a therapist, they want a cook, they want a chef, they want a personal assistant, and they want a prostitute at the same time. And if you've dated a guy like this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I ain't gonna lie, the guys are not gonna like me for this one. I'm gonna tell you the 10 type of guys you should avoid. And I might have been one of them in my lifetime. Number 1 is the mother's boy. Now, there's nothing wrong with being a mother's boy, but if you're a woman trying to date a guy and he's a mother's boy, I'm telling you, it's only gonna go so far. Now, don't get me wrong. As men, we have a special bond with our mothers, especially if she's a single mother, you grew up with her. Like, there is a nurturing factor to your mother. But at some point, you have to leave the nest. And when you leave the nest, you realize, okay, this is my mother's place in my life, and I'm always going to love her and respect her, and I'm going to do everything I can for her. But you've got to live your life too. And as a woman, if you are dealing with a mother's boy and, you know, he's late 20s, early 30s, and you can still see it within him, it's not going to change. I'm telling you now, it is not going to change. Now, I'm not saying that men should abandon their mothers. Of course not. I love my mother to death. But there are certain things that women, I'm sure you notice when you date a mother's boy, and they ain't going to change. So don't try and fight it. Just walk away, move on. And it's little things like if you're dating a man and let's say for some reason he still lives at home, which is completely fine, completely normal, but his mother still does his laundry. His mother's still washing his drawers. I'm telling you, you're not going to want to stay around for that. But sometimes when you date a mother's boy, you don't just date him, you date his mum. You're dating both of them because all your issues will become her issues, and she will have her input and she will have her claws within your relationship. And I've dated women that have told me about their horror stories with guys that are mother's boys. So I'm going to tell you right now, that's one you should avoid. Number 2, cheaters. Now, people are going to look at this and laugh and you was on Love is Blind, you was in the curtain. There was no curtain. But if you dated a guy and he's a serial cheater and he's told you, some men are, you know, pretty honest about it. Yeah, I've cheated in the past, blah, blah, blah. If you dated a guy who's a serial cheater, the likelihood of you changing him are very, very slim. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm not saying that he can't be changed. We can all be changed, but I'm just going to let you know right now, it is slim. And there's little things you might want to look out for. Is he always hiding his phone? Does he let you look at his WhatsApp? Does he let you look at his IG? Those little things are like minor to me. Like, I've never felt the need to go out and cheat, you know, regardless of what you guys think of watching a hyper edited show. Like, I never had to. So I don't need to. You can look at my WhatsApp, you can look at my IG. I have conversations with people all the time. So I personally wouldn't be too worried because I know once I'm in something and I'm committed to it, I'm gonna give it my best. I love being reliable. So I want to show up for people as much as I can. But if you're dealing with a cheater, and if you're a woman who's dealt with consistent cheaters, I'm going to tell you to just pack your bags and stop wasting your time. Number 3 is liars. And I don't mean like big, large lies. I'm talking about those guys that make those little white lies. If you're a woman and you got guys that make those little white lies, you need to question them. I've heard some horror stories. Guys lying about not having kids. Those aren't white lies. But once you hear something like that, disappear. Guys lying about how much money they make. Guys lying about what car they drive. Guys lying about what they did last weekend. Like, when you do those little white lies, he ain't going to change. He's going to keep making those lies. I'm a guy, and I've told lies before. I'm a guy. I know how guys think. If you keep buying into my lies, I'm probably going to tell more lies. Which is why I learned from a very young age to just not tell lies and just say how it is. I think it's the easiest way to deal with any conflict is just say how it is. But if you're dealing with a guy and you've caught him, the first thing is if you catch him and he doesn't confess and apologize straight away and he tries to deny it and he tries to keep fighting it, I'm going to tell you, you need to run. Number 4 is the controlling guy. Now, these guys are like subtle because it can seem as, oh, he's just protective. You know, he looks after me. He's brave. But I'm going to tell you, it gets to a certain point. I've spoken to girls where they're not even allowed to go on holiday. They're not even allowed to go buy food without him. They're not even allowed to drive the car without his say-so. Situations like that, I'm going to tell you right now, you need to remove yourself because those hyper controlling guys, they can be dangerous. They're the dangerous guys. They're the guys that you see them on the news because they did something that they shouldn't have done. Now, is there anything wrong with being protective? No. You know, I'm a guy, so I would want to protect my woman, and I might say to her, look, like, you're going there tonight, that's fine, but you got to be careful. You know, I think you should wear X, Y, Z. I don't think there's anything wrong with a guy. If you're with a woman, you even make her suggestions about what she wears, stuff like that. Am I going to tell her not to wear it? No. Am I going to make suggestions? Yes. Depending on how much she respects me and believes in me, she might take my word for it. If she doesn't, then that will determine where we're at. I think those hyper controlling guys ladies, you got to be wary. Think a bit deeper about what you're doing there. Number 5 is the lazy man. The lazy man are dangerous. So me, I got flack for being on Love is Blind and talking about my routine. I go to bed early. I wake up mad early. I'm in the gym. I can work late. I work for myself, innit? So sometimes it happens. But if you're a woman, I know most women have dealt with this type of guy. You know, he's got ambitions. He says he's going to do this. He's going to get this job, or he's going to build this business. He's got this ambition and he just never does anything. You're the one having to push and motivate him. You're telling him how to do things. Unfortunately, I'm not saying you should not try and get a diamond in the rough, but there's only so much motivating you can do until it's time to say, see you later, sayonara, this ain't going nowhere. Because it's going to get to the point where the lazy guy, you're the one pushing him. You're the one giving him money. You're the one dragging his fat ass to the gym. You're the one doing everything. You're the one meal prepping so that he can lose weight. You're the one doing everything for him. So you have to be careful with the lazy type. You need to work out, is it a physical thing? Is it a lack of ambition? You got to work it out very early. Because if he's lazy and there's very obvious signs of laziness, you need to get yourself out of there, ladies. Number 6 is the narcissist. This is what everyone that watched Love is Blind has accused me of being. Now, I think there's a little degree of narcissism in that. That's okay, but it can't be crazy. And I think that if you are dealing with a narcissist as a woman, you're probably going to feel quite neglected. You're probably going to feel like dejected. You're probably going to feel like you are not that important. And the truth is, in his eyes, you are that important. And the thing with the narcissist type of guy is they can sometimes start sweet. You know, it might be gift giving. It might be grand gestures. It might be like really big extreme acts of love. Then he gets you and then you become a fan of his. And once you become his fan, it's over. Once you become his fan, it's over. There ain't no coming back. And what happens is he's kind of fueled by you giving him confidence and you not having any confidence. So you kind of need to be careful when you see those traits. And one thing you can look out for is narcissists don't take accountability. They have these weird arguments where they never say, yeah, I'm wrong. I shouldn't have done that. Cool. And this is why it's quite funny when people saying I was being a narcissist when I actually just admitted where I was wrong. Because narcissists don't admit when they're wrong. Trust me, they don't. I've met narcissists and they don't. So if you're not sure if he's a narcissist, test him. Find out. Because if he is, run. Number 7, the guy that is always broke. And I mean always broke. It's okay if he's broke here and there. We all have seasons in life. There are seasons in my life, even as a business owner, where the income is not where it needs to be. I'm not making as much money as I want to make. I could have a bad year. I could have a bad 6 months. But if you've been with this guy continuously and he is always broke, always bank account on minus, you need to run because it probably ain't going to change. And I'm not saying that every broke guy shouldn't have a woman or shouldn't be allowed to have a woman, or shouldn't have access to dating women. But you have to be honest about it. If you're okay dating broke men and you like struggle love, that's fine. And money is not everything. So please don't get it twisted. Money is not everything. But you need to recognize this. The broke man is very, very, very difficult to change because he's broke. and even more importantly than that is if he's had money before and he became broke, because love is not going to fix poor money management. If he has poor money management skills where he has a good job, but every time you talk to him, he seems broke, that's even worse. Because what happens when you get together? Houses all mash up. Mortgage and finances are mash up. You know, you end up in debt. So if he's broke, avoid, run for the hills, especially if he's got a good job and he's broke. That's even worse. Number 8, the playboy, the player. This is what they accuse me of. Can't lie, I've had my days. The playboy, this is an interesting one because I think that the main reason you want to avoid this guy is because you need to know what season he's in. Because there's some guys that are at the end of their playboy era and they may be ready for that long-term commitment. But if he's at the peak of his playboy era, I'm sorry, ladies, you are not getting him. You are not tying him down because there are other ladies that want him. He's got probably a lot of great traits, great talker. He might have some money, physically, might maybe look as good as me, you know. He might be that guy. But the problem with that type of guy is he has options. So he's doing the player thing because he knows he can get away with it. So you got to check what season is and you got to check the temperature. You can't wait too long before you throw out the question, what are we? Because when you throw out the question, what are we? You're going to see his true colors. So don't wait. The player type, you know, a lot of guys are going to hate me for this video, but I have to keep it real. I'm always making videos to protect the man then. We got to protect the woman too. But the player guy, you got to just be careful and just see what season is he in. Is he at the end of that player season? If he is, you can make it work. You can change him. If he ain't at the end of the season, you can't change him. There is no changing that can be done. Good luck with that. Number 9 is the angry man, the guy who's always vexed. He's got a screw loose. Be careful with these type of guys for obvious reasons. I'm not going to get into you, but you know what I'm talking about. There's DV cases we gotta be aware of. So the angry guy is the guy that you need to run for the hills. As soon as you see any hyper aggression towards you specifically as a woman, don't tolerate, don't wait. Because if you wait, things can get dangerous. We read the news every day. We know what's going on out there in the world. So don't wait, because these guys, the guys that are always angry, the guys that have a short fuse, they're not safe to be around. Not even for you, but for situations that you can get into as well. You could be out and the guy with a short fuse just loses it because someone else does something and he ends up kicking their head in, and then you both get in trouble for it. Like, those things happen. So the angry guy, you need to be aware. You need to be aware. You need to see the signs. And I don't just mean road rage. I don't just mean, oh, he gets angry in the car. I'm talking about real anger where he does stuff that you're like, oh, why are you so angry? Don't do it. Be aware. Those people, dangerous. And their dangerous is so small. He could be slamming the door, screaming at you, shutting the door in your face. Those little things, you have to run for the hills. And then it's the toxic guys. The toxic guys, they're like, it's like roller coasters with those guys, because 1 minute it's, I love you, baby. You know, you're my everything. You're my world. The next day it's, I hate you. I hate you. I can't believe you can do this. And maybe when you're about to leave, he says, I'm going to unalive myself. Because those guys, when I hear those stories, and all of this is driven by stories that women have told me. When I hear those stories, those men are the most manipulative, dangerous type of men. Because how can you say to a woman, oh, if you leave me, I'm going to unalive myself? That is crazy work. But men do it. So ladies, if you notice, it's not that he's like up and down, but he has very extreme behaviors and he can be very toxic with his extreme behaviors. Just run for the hills. Run for the hills. Run for the hills. Because those guys, they will manipulate you and you don't want that. I'm going to give you a bonus one. Number 11, the nonchalant guy. Now, I can admit that this is me. So I'm the nonchalant guy. I ain't going to take things too personally. I ain't going to get overly emotional with you. I'm going to take my time. I'm going to do things at my own pace, nice and slow. And I could be really into you. And the reason I know this so well is because this is me. The nonchalant guy, don't date them. You don't have to date me. Don't date me. Because the nonchalant guy is the guy that will just be like, all right, I like you. I'm feeling you. I want to see where it goes. But he ain't speeding anything. He ain't speed dating. He ain't rushing it. It might take a bit of time to lock him down. He's not a bad guy. He ain't as extreme as the other 10 because, you know, it's me. But he's the guy that, you know, you have to make sure you keep him engaged. You keep him engaged. And the way you keep him engaged is by listening to him and kind of picking up his cues. And he's picking up your cues at the same time. Sometimes the nonchalant guy is the overthinker or the deep thinker. And he's being very cerebral. He's looking at every action and he's assessing it. And he's assessing for compatibility, because the nonchalant guy will eventually become committed if you approach it the right way. That was my bonus one. Anyway, so those are the 10 types of men you shouldn't date. Some will take your money. Some might hurt you. Some will love you forever and then hurt you. Some will end up hurting themselves. So that's not funny. That's not funny at all. But with that being said, I'm thinking, should I do the 10 types of women men shouldn't date? Or should I leave this topic alone?